So here's one of those videos I really never did want to ever have to put out. I've touched on the subject a couple times, but when it comes to what I experienced today, we have to look at it. We have to kind of dive into it. And though I've talked about the subject before in the past, we're gonna rehash this again today. So the story behind this is that we called a local big box store. We wanted to get another freezer. Now that would be for chicken and meat storage and stuff like that, frozen goods. And we decided we'd go ahead and get another one. We budgeted for it and checked the local store, and it was in stock. Well, they offered free delivery. I thought, well, I don't have to take time off work, nor do I have to worry about going through the afternoon traffic, after work, evening traffic, rush hour type stuff in a rural area to get up there to go get it. So I'll opt for free local delivery. And we did. We made the purchase online, got the confirmation, and they called this morning, said we're on our way to be at about an hour before we get there. I said, okay. So it's no big surprise we live in a rural area. And where we live is kind of unique because we're near the county line, and there's so many overlaps where we live. And what I mean by that is addressing overlaps and everything, and mail delivery overlaps from one county to the next. So it's a kind of a unique area, and it's kind of hard to find where we live because we have an address of a neighboring county versus the county that we live in, and that's just the U.S. Postal Service for you. But anyways, so they called. I said okay, and they said we can't find your address. And I was like, well, I'll tell you what I'll do. I said I'll share my location with you on your cell phone there, and that way it'll bring you right to me. And I said because maps usually won't find us. So I did, and they showed up in an Enterprise rent-a-truck. So it was an Enterprise lift-gate rent-a-truck, and it turns out it didn't come from the local store. It came from the Pittsburgh warehouse. Even though it said it was in stock at the local store, it came from the Pittsburgh warehouse through third-party delivery services that are from that area. And when they got out, one of them started looking around. He's like, wow. He said, this is quiet. This is country. And I'm like, yes, sir, it is. I said, that's why we like it. He said, wow. He said, you ain't even got no neighbors. And I said, well, we do. I said, but they're down over the hill. He looked around. He said, this is a place I'd come to vacation. I said, yeah, it is like a vacation here. I said, because he said, this is better than a city life right here. And I said, it is. I said, I couldn't stand living in the city. I said so this is definitely better than city life. He goes, this is really nice. And I appreciate that, and we shook hands, introduced ourselves to each other. We shared the same first name and everything like that. And then his partner got out of the truck and they went through their business. And I didn't think anything of anything until we got in the house. And we put the freezer in the basement. So once we come around to put the freezer in the basement, they started noticing things, and they started taking notice of things and making comments on the things. And wow, look at that, and wow, look at this, and wow, look at this, and wow, that's got this and that's got that. And I said, yeah, I said we don't have room outside of in another building. I said so we just kind of got all my tools and stuff down here. And then I started to feel uneasy. I got that feeling in my gut, and I thought, I don't like that too much. And the heads were turning, and the eyes were darting, and things were starting to sink in a little bit. And I thanked them and hurried them out the door. And the one asked me if he could have something to drink, and I offered up a couple of different things that we had. And I made sure, I said, I'll bring it out to you, and I closed and locked the basement door. So then I went upstairs, and I got him a drink, and I come out and handed it to him. Thank you very much. And in the truck he got. And they told me that I was the first stop today, and that I was their first delivery, and they were heading out for the rest of their deliveries, and they had a full truck. And so I went back in the house, made sure the door was locked. I just do that. I always do that. Doesn't matter if somebody's here or not. I've just got to have a lock in the doors. I've got kids and a family, And even though living here when I was a kid, we didn't do that kind of stuff. We left our car windows down. We left keys in our car. We left our bicycles out. We left our dirt bikes out. Nobody messed with them. That all changed several years ago. And this time, they sat in my driveway for about 7 minutes now after they both got in the truck. And I stood back away from the window enough to where I could see them, and I watched them. And I couldn't really see what they were doing in the truck, but they sat there for about 7 minutes, and then they took off down the road. I told my wife, I said, my gut's telling me not to like that. There's something about that just made me uneasy, and I really didn't like that. So the first thing come to my mind is they're from a known high crime area. They're working an honest job. I'm not going to take that away from them, but the thoughts started coming through my head because I just got that uneasy feeling about it, the whole situation in my gut. And I thought they're casing out the house, they're marking it on their maps, type of thing. So all these scenarios played through my head. I'm like, yeah, going it. Now it just made me mad. Well, I called the big box store and I said, listen, we ordered we bought the thing online. It said it was in stock at the store. I said, why didn't it come from the store? Oh, well, we have to keep certain things in stock, and usually we'll just go ahead and have it delivered out of the hub, and it's third-party contractors and this and that. And I'm like, yeah, well, I just want to let you know that this made me uneasy. I kind of felt that maybe they were casing my house and this other stuff, and they sat in my driveway for about, 7 minutes after everything was said and done with, and I'd received the product, and they just sat there in their truck, and da-da-da-da. And it was like, I understand. Yep. I can transfer you to the contractor and you can voice your concerns with them. No, I know I don't want to do that because that's not going to make things any better. But if I'm doing business with you, I would trust your employees, because if they were local, I would hope that they would be vetted and at least known in the area, type of thing. One of the keys to living in a rural area or small town type of thing. I said, but these guys come from a big metropolitan area, and I just got a bad vibe from all of it, if there is such a thing as a bad vibe. Well, I can send an email out. All right, you send out your email. Thank you very much. So now that we got the story out of the way, here's my concerns. Number one is, that's an easy thing to do. We know where we live in this region, there is high crime and a lot of drug trafficking and drug crime that comes from that city and other big metropolitan areas in states that surround us. So it's not uncommon for big crime, big criminals to come from there to here for anything like that. Now, I'm not saying anybody's going to come from Pittsburgh and set up and try to rob me or anything like that. I'm just saying it gave me a very uneasy feeling, and it didn't set well with me. And even though they were nice and friendly, their actions versus their demeanor, you know what I mean? Their body language versus their verbal demeanor. So it struck a concern with me. So we've got a security system set up here at the house, and I've got 4 extra cameras that I've yet to put up. Well, guess what I'm going to be doing here in just a little bit. So I'm going to be activating and putting those cameras up at various locations. We've got these a while back, and they won't come on because it's daylight. So these are solar powered, and these things are bright. And they have a couple different settings on them. They got like a dim, a medium, and then a high setting. They got motion sensors on them. And they're small, they're compact. They light on the front and the sides. And they got their little solar panel. And you just basically set it by pressing and holding the button a couple times. Like I said, it's not going to come on because it's daylight right now. And I'm going to put these up at just various locations around the house. Even though I do have motion sensor spotlights up, these are going to be in a place where those aren't, and close to egress and areas, and like steps up and everything like that. So I've got 8 of these to put up. We got these on Amazon. If I can find them on there, now because we've had these for a while, I just haven't put them up. If I can find them, I'll put the link on there. And I also ordered an 800 watt solar powered, like a street lamp, that I think I'm going to put right down here, just at the edge of the yard, right over the driveway, to where you won't see it until you get up there, and the motion sensor will light it up then. And once that lights up the front of the house, that tells me that there's somebody or something down there, because I'm going to tell you, most people, if they're not familiar with the area, they're not going to come trudging through the deep, dark, thick, because they're not that intelligent to begin with. They may be cunning, but they're not that intelligent because they don't know the area, they don't know the terrain, and a lot of people get freaked out in the woods at nighttime. But I'm going to do that, and it's a shame because crime rates have risen exponentially in the rural areas in America. We have had a massive increase in crime here in the last couple years. There was just a pursuit down through here last night. Of all things, there's a daggone pursuit. Now, it's not uncommon anymore, which that's odd to say, but there was a pursuit right down through our hollow last night. And there are probably about 6 different police agencies involved in this. And, there's massive drug crime. There's not so many home invasions, but there's a lot of property theft, a lot of property crime. And you just, you know what I mean? You live in a rural area, and people, if I yell for help, somebody might hear me. I mean, voice and sound does carry here, but if I yell for help in the middle of the night, it's hard to say if somebody would hear me or not. If I call 911, I'm looking at best 15 minutes response time. And that is simply because of where I live in relation to the county agency that is close to me, and in relation to where the state agency is to me, because there's no municipal police agency where I live. So I'm looking at best 15 minutes on my own. So not only are we increasing the visual security, the light, the camera, recordable type security, that's all motion sensor activated, and a lot of this, like these lights and stuff like that, are solar powered. So, if we go on a blackout type of thing, I don't have to worry about that. But we have that backup, but also the other protection that we have. And to avoid certain algorithms and stuff like that, I'll not say that, but I'll just tell you that, where I live, it is, if somebody was to come up here and attempt to do something, there's not going to be a police officer that's going to get here in time to prevent that crime. So it is going to be on us. And I'm not saying that in a laughing, joking way. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you, I got pigs in a compost pile, I ain't going to call nobody. Even though I got pigs in a compost pile, and I would have to really think about calling somebody. Especially if you come up, no, seriously, but if somebody comes up here, I'm a half mile up off the main road, tucked up, on a hill, and you can't see me from the road. You can't see my house from the road. My driveway is a gravel road up through the woods type of thing. If you come up here in the middle of the night, you've got bad intentions, and that's just all there is to it, because it's clearly marked as residential down on the bottom of the, on the paved road. So, like I said, you come up here with bad intentions, unfortunately, you're going to have a bad time, because I have a family to protect, and that's just how it's going to be. So, with the rising crime rates, with the freaking political atmosphere that we have currently, the social atmosphere that we have currently, the type of society that we have, people just, I'm telling you, people, man, I can't tell you how much I enjoy being up here. That's my neighbor cutting hay, by the way. The closest neighbor landowners are up here at the very top corner of his property mowing or cutting hay, so that's why you hear the tractor in the background. This is a blessing to me and my family to be up and away from urban areas, higher population densities and stuff like that, especially with the society and stuff that we have today and the things that are going on. So we are definitely blessed by this, and continue to work towards being less and less dependent on a consumer-driven society, and less dependent on the global supply chains and the consumer supply chains. I want local, and I want hyper-local. I want to raise it here. I want to grow it here. As a matter of fact, I told my wife the other night, I said, you know what? I said, as things are moving along here, as we get the greenhouse, the high tunnel, I said, as that moves along, we get the well, we get the high tunnel. I want next year, I want 2024, I'm going to try to make it my goal as much as possible that 80 to 90% of what I consume in 2024 is going to come from right here. Right here. My hands and my wife's hands are going to be involved in about 80 to 90% of the food that I eat here. And that means growing, raising, processing, preserving, however. And that's what I want. That is my ultimate goal. And I called today to try to get on the books to get the well online here, to get them to set a date to come up here and drill the well. I unfortunately must have hit at a busy time, so I left them a message. So hopefully we'll hear back from them tomorrow, and we can get that process started and get that going, because I really want to get the well done. That's a big step. That's a huge step in self-sufficiency, because that's my own and our own water supply here that is unadulterated with all of the pharmaceuticals and all the chemicals and stuff that they put in that's in our drinking water. They can treat it all they want to, but the bad thing is when they draw it up out of the river, the stream, or whatever source that they're drawing it up from, all of the pharmaceuticals that people pee out and poop out is in that water. It's been proven. It's off the charts, the amount of pharmaceuticals that are in the water, and municipal water and city water and stuff. So, the only way to get rid of that is to do some kind of filtration system in your home. And while I do that through my Alexapure filter, I would much prefer the safety and the security of our own water. So that's a big step. That's going to be a big relief for me personally and for my goals, regardless of whether that's being done for the greenhouse or not. Ultimately, once we're certified on that and we get reimbursed for it, that water is going to be used to feed my livestock and us, to water us, so to provide water for us, and that's my ultimate goal. But again, 2024, the goal is 80 to 90% of what I consume comes from right here. But the only thing I can tell you is that, you know what I mean, you have to take security seriously. You have to take your own physical, your own home, and your own family security. You have to take it seriously. It's only getting worse at this point. The political atmosphere between the two parties is getting worse. The social atmosphere, the amount of division that's down on our society currently is just ridiculous. And like I said, in 33 years in healthcare, I've kind of learned how to read people, and I've been pretty good at doing that. And I just got that feeling today. I just kind of got that feeling in my gut that, as a healthcare professional, something your gut tells you something's wrong. And that ain't just healthcare professional. Like I said, I've learned to read people that, you treat. One of the things that I follow is you treat the patient, not the numbers. So if their blood pressure is a little on the lower side, or if the heart rate's a little on the lower side or the higher side, I'm not going to pay attention to those numbers. I'm going to pay more attention to how the person presents to me, if that makes sense to you. If they look sick and they act sick, then they're probably sick regardless of what the numbers tell me. If the numbers look bad and the patient looks bad, then that tells me something. If the numbers look bad and the patient looks fine, we need to dig a little deeper. But I just kind of, like I said, it didn't set well with me, and I worry about things like that. People today are egocentric, self-serving, immediate gratification seekers, and they don't seem to have any problems harming someone else for their own gain. So again, physical security at your home, video cameras, little simple security systems that, update to the cloud, or, set off by motion sensor. These little solar motion sensor lights. And I already have some of these up already, not these particular ones, but I already have some of these up already around the property. But these are going up here now. That's what I'm getting ready to do. And hope I get these up and get them working. I'll have to pop a little video on at night. And I really want to wait till I get that street light motion sensor light to get it put out here. And that'll kind of help with things, I think. But anyways, take that seriously. If your gut tells you something's wrong, trust your gut, because your gut's usually never wrong. Your heart will definitely fool you, because that's all based on your emotions and your feelings. And your brain can get confused and conflicted, but your gut will usually tell you there's something wrong. So, again, as I finish off this video, I'm going to tell you guys to get and stay prepared. And that preparedness means physical security of your home, your family, your property. And please, please, please get and stay prepared. Stay free. God bless y'all.